Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast. I'm your host, Nate Weitzer, tonight flying solo with Mo, as Josh Lander has already started the honeymoon here. He's got his wedding this weekend. Wish him all the best. We'll be without him for a couple weeks here. As we forge along here, though, bringing you every night game we can get a look at here ahead of time with the best lines available. As always, you can find those on thelines.com and playpicks.com. Great content in terms of your best bets, DFS picks, prop bets, anything you need there. And if you do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, please do head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your local area. As what we got tonight, a few Wednesday afternoon games. We are going to bring you one Wednesday afternoon game. That is the Marlins and Diamondbacks in a toss-up. We're going to break that one down. It's a 3:40 Eastern start. So stay tuned for that. We got Rockies plus 170 at the Giants. Rays, even money at the Angels. Great pitching matchup there with McClanahan and Shohei Ohtani. The A's are in a toss-up at Detroit. Red Sox, after pulling out, I think, the win here in Atlanta in the opener, are plus 110 in the second game of that series. Astros minus 125 at Minnesota. And then the O's plus 185 as they go to St. Louis. Yeah, I think we're starting with this matchup of young aces, really. Ohtani and McClanahan, or Ohtani just is maybe some sort of Benjamin Button character who's just getting better every year. His fastball somehow jumping up 2 miles per hour. He's got a 38% K rate after, starting slow in his first couple starts. Now looks just completely dominant. This Rays offense has not started hitting at the same level it was last year. So it's hard to imagine him struggling in this matchup. He's got a 38% called plus swinging strike rate at this point. And Shane McClanahan not far behind with a 36% called plus swinging strike rate. The Rays have had to use their junkers, if you will, their bad middle relievers the last couple of games of the series as they got blowed out in the first one. So they should have some fresh arms behind McClanahan, who's really been just as dominant with that 97 mile per hour heater, mixing in his splitter more, which has led to a lot more whiffs and a lot higher of a K rate. As good as both these offenses have been, 7 runs is playing it straight up. And in terms of the total, I think you got to like the under there. If you are worried at all about the Angels bullpen, I don't think you should be worried about the Rays. The under for the first 5 innings at minus 115 also seems kind of appealing.
Yeah, this is not a pair of offenses that I'm excited to fire unders against, for sure. These guys are scalding the ball. But I do have to say, man, it is, if anybody can shut these offenses down, it's these two. Just 2 awesome arms, both throwing so hard, both averaging almost 98 miles per hour on their heaters. Ohtani has a 1.82 Sierra. Massive swinging strike jump, massive zone percent jump. So he's just somehow he's throwing in the zone up 6%, but he's also getting way more whiffs. That's a pretty neat trick to pull, I have to say. So, and then you look at McClanahan, ultra elite velocity from the left side there. And the Ks are still at an elite level, but what he's added now is he's getting 59.2% grounders to his resume. I don't even know how you can score on these guys. What happens when McClanahan's 29.4 home run per fly ball percent comes down? That is at least probably triple what it's going to end up being by the end of the year, especially with this dead baseball. So yeah, I would say just maybe keep an eye on this line, shop around, see if you can get an under 7.5 at a decent price, because that's such a key number usually. But I really can't fault anybody for firing under 7 here either, to be honest.
Yeah, at least something to watch in terms of their strikeout potential. Those 2 aces probably going to bring out the best in each other as they go head to head here. And this is an exploitable line here in the Red Sox game as far as what's up tonight as they're getting this first win, because their offense had been so cold, but they kind of erupted here, got to Kyle Wright, and put up a crooked number. And now they have Nathan Eovaldi, who's usually their stopper, but he's now can pick up some momentum for the Red Sox as they go to Atlanta. Total is 7 runs here with Ian Anderson, who's been decidedly meh this year, missing the zone very frequently with only an 11% called strike rate, very low first strike rate, and that will lead to a 17% K rate. It's fair to wonder if he has the stuff to consistently baffle major league hitters. He had a 31% K rate at the AAA level last year, and now struggling to get anyone to chase anything. And it's a 5.5 walk per 9 ratio. The Sox drew 7 walks Tuesday night as we're recording this, so they obviously have started to become more patient. And then Eovaldi, I mean, he's just a guy kind of like those other aces we're talking about. He's throwing 97. He's got a home run fly ball ratio that's spiked. That's probably going to come down at some point. And this is a fine time for it to happen against a Braves offense that isn't really hitting the ball out of the park. Same time, that Red Sox bullpen and just the nature of these offenses makes me lean over, but I don't know. I think the best bet might just be Boston money line.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in the Red Sox here. This is like the only line that really stood out to me when I was going over the PM slate. Honestly, Nate Eovaldi is one of the most consistent and honestly kind of boring pitchers to handicap. Like, he's so clear what he is, basically. So this is mostly, I think, a fade of Ian Anderson. I just don't think he's feeling the ball. He's got a feel for his pitches. I don't know what's going on here, because while he didn't have great control and command, man, it's become atrocious this year. 44% zone rate. I think that's below where almost anybody could have success, barring having like Jacob deGrom stuff. And I will say up front, first of all, though, Ian Anderson has shown that he might be one of the guys who can outpitch his estimators. So I don't think he's like going to perform quite as badly as these numbers indicate. But when you're only getting 11.4% called strikes, I mean, your command is just way, way off with that poor zone rate and the walks that you quoted. He's also down a little bit on velocity. It's not like a hugely concerning number, but there's just another kind of issue he's having. I just don't think anything's going that well for him. I think he's honestly been a little lucky in a couple of the games I watched to not give up more runs. My main concern here would be what you kind of outlined about Boston's patience. It's been pretty poor so far. They have the worst swing percent so far. So swinging outside the zone more than any other team. But I'm just basically counting on the fact that major league hitters can adjust to a guy they know is going to come in and be a little wild here. So I think despite Boston's kind of struggles on offense, and they don't have a good defense either, I think even despite that, just the difference in the quality of the pitching, I just think Boston should be favored. It's wrong team favored here. So anything plus is very good for me for Boston here.
Yeah, well, speaking of wild and erratic pitchers, we go next to Minnesota, where Chris Archer is on the mound and will try to keep the ball in the park, which he has not been able to do in his last few, giving up 5 solo homers and put up 9 walks in his last 4 starts. We mentioned going into it, that last one against the Orioles, actually wanted to back the Orioles in a strange way, or take the over there, because he's basically just had been lucky to have a 93% strand rate at that point. Now he faces the Astros team that's won 8 straight, has 41 walks in that span to go along with 21 extra base hits, 11 homers. They could be all over Archer here. They just got to Joe Ryan. That was the first game they hadn't hit a homer in a while. But they should provide enough run support, I think, for a guy like Jose Urquidy, who's not pitching nearly as well as he was last year, but the competition is something to definitely take note of, since he's faced Toronto twice, Mariners, the Angels, and then his last start, he gets the Tigers. He went 6 scoreless, strong enough. Definitely a very low swinging strike rate and a low ground ball rate, not the combination you want. But this Twins lineup, if Byron Buxton's going to continue to be out, it seems like a pretty easy lineup to navigate. I mean, he's no Justin Verlander, but one hit over eight innings against Verlander tonight for the Twins. And even if Buxton's in there, I mean, that's just one very dangerous bat to pitch around and attack the rest of these guys.
Yeah, Verlander doing it for both my fantasy teams. I would say on this one, yeah, Archer. So getting swings and misses is really the only thing he does well. It's really the only thing he's done well in his career. So if he's not getting those against the Astros, who are famously like, I think they were the number one offense last year in terms of contact. So obviously a couple pieces gone from that, but still not a team that I think is going to whiff a ton. And yeah, you hit on the main thing for me right now. Why I just can't touch the Twins right now until I see Buxton and Correa back in the lineup, not running out an inspiring group of hitters. So I understand that they probably want to keep Buxton. Like they want to be careful with him, probably the most injury prone star player there is. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they held him out for another game here. And if that's the case, I think I would consider betting on the Astros here. Urquidy actually, his velocity is up this year, which is interesting because he's struggling a little bit. So I'm actually curious to see where that goes, because if he can kind of rein in his command a little bit of these harder pitches, I actually have some optimism for him going forward, but we'll see where that settles.
Yep. And the bonus content for you today, if you haven't seen this before, it starts at 3:40, is the Marlins and Diamondbacks game. Another opportunity to take an under with Merrill Kelly on the mound, because that is what he does. He's been extremely consistent. A rare pitcher who gets to go 8.2 innings in his last start. And now 3 straight unders for the D-backs in his starts, totaling just 11 runs in those last 3. The Diamondbacks had 4 straight unders coming into tonight's matchup, which looks like it's going to go over. Full discretion. The Marlins had gone under in 4 of their last 5 and had lost 8 of their last 9. Sandy Alcantara is on the mound for them. It's hard to really understand what's going on with him, because he's not getting a ton of hard contact, but has that 301 BABIP. His slider and fastball have dropped off in terms of their efficiency and their location, it seems, this year, and just not throwing as many first strikes. So yeah, I think there's just room for improvement there. I would still think under 7.5 runs against the Diamondbacks team that's dead last in batting average, 26 runs per game out at massive Chase Field, right?
Yeah, I'm not super concerned about Alcantara. He's struggling a little bit so far. Like you said, the first pitch strike drop is like the most glaring thing I'm seeing. I doubt that's going to be a major issue going forward. He's probably just one of the guys who was a little behind in his prep for the season. He's still throwing very hard. He's still missing a decent amount of bats, as many as he has, honestly, in most of his career. Maybe last year may have been an anomaly on that front. But yeah, and we know this is a very pro Merrill Kelly podcast. We love Merrill Kelly, just an underrated, solid pitcher. So against a couple of uninspiring offenses, I'm actually very interested in that plus money when I see that under there.
Yes, sir. Always a good opportunity to chase those results. Even if you are betting in the afternoon, we always can bring you those opportunities when we do see them here. So please do follow along. We'll be bringing you these episodes every single weekday of the MLB season. Like and subscribe to the page so you don't miss a beat. And as always, happy betting.